Good morning, everybody. It's going to be me and Alex today on the AMA. I hear Dan's under the weather. I hope he feels better. I'm glad that everybody tuned in. We're broadcasting again across multiple platforms. So those of you that are listening beyond YouTube, hope you enjoy the show. So I'm here with Alex today. How are you doing, Alex?
Doing well. Hi.
Awesome. I want to give kind of an announcement that we're going to have a community chat tomorrow at 8 a.m. UTC. We're going to cover kind of the latest on Oracle Pools 2.0, Dexy, Gluon. Alex, I know you're going to be there, as well as Green Hat and Bruno.
Yeah. So maybe the time is not the most convenient for the American continent. Means Latin America, the US, Canada. But what can we do? So the time was chosen mostly by Green Hats and Bruno. They have some commitments about other options. So yeah.
Well, the nice thing about in text is, people can always catch up on it later. I'm sure that we can get a couple write-ups and some additional coverage for those people like me that have to wake up way too damn early to do these things, or way too late to join international meetings sometimes. That's life, right?
Yeah, so it's always hard to cover all the time zones, right? From Japan to the Mexico. And the west coast of the US. Let's do whatever possible. So, Oracle Pools 2.0 will be covered. Well, again, so there was video at the summit. So finally, some digestible information about Oracle Pools 2.0. Because before they were just dev talk, CEP, and so on. Gluon, which was not maybe digested well, or maybe that's just my perception in the light of that HODL craziness. The video was on day 3 of the summit. So it was undervalued in my opinion. So you have chance to get my information from Bruno before white paper release and so on. And for the Dexy, we will announce testnet's public release dates and the road to mainnet, some details and so on.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to community being introduced to Gluon. I think that's a pretty exciting evolution of AgeUSD. So I hope that everybody out there has time to tune in. I'm sure we can get some secondary coverage, so it's a little bit more convenient for everybody. So we had the dev update yesterday. This seemed to be a pretty good one. Anything particular stick out to you, Alex?
Talks, concrete talks, about relaunching HODL started. In regards with the node updates, bootstrapping with Nipopos is now under review. I'm polishing it. First UTXO set snapshots were made like 2 days ago, and it seems there are some excited users already, and it seems it's possible to use even Ergo wallet. There are reports of after headers been downloaded, bootstrapping been done during lunchtime. Just all right. So then. So with Nipopos it would be even better. So there was a great update on Rosen. I guess. And yeah, other interesting stuff. So there also was not sure about dev chats, but in the Spectrum community, Spectrum network white paper was released, which is quite interesting and could be considered as a basis for building side chains, Ergo side chains in the future. Right, so they are doing some interesting modifications to the UTXO model, and not only so. Yeah, maybe we will invite them to have MA.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think that would be
great. Next week, hopefully, but yeah, let's see. So it's up to them. And yeah, also, a lot of updates, including, efforts to build alternative Explorer engines and front ends. Analog Ergo is also, quite interesting to me. Maybe we can do, another MA with them. So that was a hackathon project about trustless swaps with Ethereum network for starters. So yeah, more and more cross-chain options, it seems. So there will good updates. So there will be a Sunday video, I believe, right?
Yeah, we'll be making that later today, probably tonight. It tends to be about like 1 a.m. my time that we knock that out, but we'll try to get that out for the community. I'm pretty excited about the node updates. I know that Saturgo's been talking about integrating Ergo Pay, which would be a huge boost to kind of the user experience on that side. We get the potential for faster syncing. That's pretty big, and I know that I kind of dropped a bounty on him this week to incentivize a build for solo miners out there that want to mine in a lower fee environment. So I'm pretty excited to see those. Let's say the node client for people that's just easy and pretty flexible. So it's going to be great to see that development come out.
Oh yeah.
All right, you ready to hop into the questions?
Yeah, so some notes. There are also things going on for the long time, and would be good to provide updates about them. In particular, Ledger integration for sure. So I will try to get information before the next dev chats. Let's see what's possible there. Oracle pools launch. So that's tricky procedure. So I believe for both Oracle pools and Rosen, currently, bootstrapping is kind of the most painful part, right? So, the security of the product being launched will be dependent on that mostly, actually. So yeah. So in the context of the Oracle pools, let's start maybe community chats from tomorrow. So I think to invite current Oracle pool operators, RQSD, so testers of the gold pool and more parties. So this time maybe up to 20-25 parties can join. But then, yeah, it's also about incentivization. So the Dexy Gold and Gluon Gold stablecoins need to provide enough revenue to Oracle pool operators. Maybe some other gold products. So. Yeah, a lot of tricky questions here. As far as I know, so for the Rosen, the bootstrapping is currently also, the hardest.
Yeah,
to do.
It's true for both. What we need to do as a community is get a lot of information, education tools, tutorials out there. That way people learn, play, understand how to run that infrastructure, right? Decentralization is not just a buzzword. It requires local hosts, right? And so, having the right incentives in place to get people to run infrastructure and participate and distribute assumptions is important. And oftentimes, that does come with certain, I guess, educational requirements, right? So hopefully we as a community can come together. I know there's a lot of great, people in our ecosystem who've done a lot of work. Lato Pixel comes to mind in terms of his work with Ergo tutorials. It'd be great to see that type of content in parallel with, Rosen, with Oracle pools. That way users out there can participate and, they kind of understand the value of that and also, earn an extra incentive for that. All right, let's hop into the questions. First question is, probably one of the most popular in the community right now. Will you guys have a US-based exchange which we can buy Ergo? I think in the future we will. Right now, US is a messy market, right? I'm not sure if you look at Gemini, if you look at Kraken, if you look at Coinbase, who hasn't been sued by the SEC, right? And, the SEC, I'm not the biggest fan of, but they do ask some good questions. If you watch the Hash It Out series that I've been making with CW for a long time, I've been talking about black boxes and potential attack vectors, right? If you were to go into the traditional markets, let's just say the NASDAQ or something like that, and you were to have the NASDAQ itself listing their own products and potentially directly trading against you, that wouldn't be acceptable, right? Crypto's kind of been on the periphery or edge of, I don't know, I guess, kind of the wild, wild west, many people will call it. So there's a lot of attack vectors there. And one thing I'm actually not a fan of is this idea that, central entities can market make against their communities, have their own products or products that they have a vested interest in, and then actively trade against users. I think that's sketchy as fuck. And whether or not that's happening, let's see. If it is, I have no compassion for exchanges that would actively manipulate their users. That's my personal opinion. As things progress in the US, I think that we'll probably see standards placed on those entities, and net, that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. Now, the difficulty is it may require an element of patience. I guess there's this saying, you need to know who you, the wagon that you hitch your horses to, right? And so we need to be careful in terms of the partnerships that we create. If there's anything that has kind of come to light over the last 2 years, it's that, a lot of the central actors in the space, may or may not necessarily have the funds that they have. They may or may not be using user funds. They may or may not be trading against them. And, that's liability, right? So I hope that from the project side, we actually get clarity. I know that that's not a popular thing to say in this space, but when you have no assumptions, right, you're looking into a black box. It's a dangerous situation. So it's something that, of course, we've had discussions with U.S. exchanges. We do have the let's say, legal opinion that they would need on the legal side to meet the requirements to list ERG as an asset in U.S. markets. But looking at the cost and the liability, I think there's a certain elements of, prudence, wisdom to sit back and let the market in the U.S. clean itself up. What's your take, Alex?
Still there are some exchanges with relaxed KYC, I guess, such as Bitcoin.com now, FMFW, Changely Pro, so that family of the exchanges. So liquidity is poor there, but if you just leave your orders, then I believe arbitrage traders will come. So, in regards with U.S. exchanges, so I don't know. Can we maybe discuss what we tried before and how it failed? I don't know.
Oh, I would love to break all my NDAs and just, I don't know, just kind of bring some dirt to the surface in terms of how a lot of them operate. But, then it's also the question, like, does it put a net liability on Ergo in future listings, right? That's always been I understand it's unprofessional, but a lot of the times we're dealing with shit that's not professional anyway. So,
okay. So, I think it could be quite clear, right? So what we tried to do, and how it finished with recent events. Let's say such hint would be enough.
Let's think about it. Maybe we'll just not do it in the future. In the meantime, I sit back and I look at a lot of the marketing that exchanges have public facing, and a lot of it is just baiting engagement, right? That's not connected with kind of the reality of how they operate. We need to see, right? That's the bottom line. I get that everybody's like, oh, it's it's like a crisis. Well, we do have a lot of exchanges out there that do have relaxed KYC requirements that gives people an option. We are building out cross-chain solutions that'll put liquidity in place. And in the meantime, let CZ and Binance run around screaming for like they're playing golf, right? And let's see where the lawsuits land, I guess. I mean, I can't in any good measure back something that's just a complete black box. I can't see inside exchanges, and you can't either as a user. So if we get better assumptions long term, I'm all for it. All right, let's
by the way, side of Kraken and Coinbase, any US exchanges?
Well, you can look at Gemini as an example, and they have their drama with BCG, and there's a couple small ones out of San Francisco actually that I would say have thus far dodged any allegations of poor business practices. It's something that we've looked into. One thing that the Ergo ecosystem doesn't do, let's say, is wash trading operations, right? And that's actually, kind of at the core of a lot of the legal concerns that the SEC has. There is a lot of fake trading in this space. And, it's one of those things. Maybe we'll see. So far, every time one of these big central entities that we put on a pedestal kind of cracks open and people can see the inside of the operations, thus far it's ugly, right? And well, we'll see how it is moving forward.
Yeah, so maybe something small. So there was some small exchange for small coins, Q trades.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not around anymore.
There's a couple of smaller outfits that we've tried to connect with. Let's see. You know, there's also
Yeah.
you know,
But there are some exchanges with no KYC, just trade auger, 7Cs. 7Cs now considered as kind of ergocentric exchange even, right? Because it has CQSD and some other tokens even.
you know, I've always
there are some options, but not hold on exchanges well as usually. So, trade auger in this regard is actually historically doing better than some well-trusted exchanges such as FTX.
Yeah.
Oh, Binance US, for example, right? And some others. It's always messy. Centralized exchanges. Well, it's a very strange world, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's super shady, but also, they have a lot of requirements. Both legal, right, and also shady.
Let's be honest. Many times they have these pseudo decentralized smart chain nonsense where they are actively selling, promoting their own products. And who knows if they're market making against you. So it's like the NASDAQ trading companies that are owned by the NASDAQ, and they're also the market maker on the NASDAQ. And in any traditional market, that'd be sketchy as fuck. But, baby. All right, let's get into some more questions. Looks like 2iPod2 says KYA, know your assumptions, is only for developers, right? Users don't care and will never know their assumptions. I would tend to disagree. I think it's for everybody. I think it's a methodology of thought that is ultimately there to protect you. Now, will users do that as a whole? I don't expect so. There's a lot of people out there that are like, hey, technology's for nerds. I'm here for the gains, right? And in which case, buy Hex. Good luck. Have fun. But hopefully you manage your risks, you trade well, and you don't get dumped on and honeypotted and all the other sketchy stuff that can come in the crypto industry. What's your take on that, Alex?
So it could be for developers, right? Could be for users also if translated into simple terms. At least for users, what can be explained is whether do you trust some human beings and to what degree, right?
Yep.
So I don't think, it's hard to explain even, right, or hard to understand. So if there is some tokenized commodity, right, for example, then definitely there is some trusted vault, right, holding physical assets. If there is some governance protocol or admin keys or whatever, then it should be explained clearly what owners of governance tokens or admin keys can do, right? Whether it's there right at all, and so on. So maybe it's not realistic to expect from an average user to know well about collision resistance of a hash function, right, or something like that. But yes, some basic things, and yeah, even to some degree, so-called trust in math can be explained, I guess.
No, I think it's education. Just education, teaching people to think critically, ask good questions, and ultimately that's there to protect you. So I hope that users care about protecting themselves, right? But it's it's crypto, so who knows?
Yeah, so especially as initially it was about building the trustless world, right? And yeah, if after all you are finishing up with some trust, then yeah, it's at least worth to understand. So who do you trust, right? Is it about a single oracle, for example, or federation of oracles, some protocol, right? So what could be punishment for misbehaving? Yeah, and so on. So the same for admin keys, governance protocols. The same for UIs. Yeah, and unfortunately, currently these days, a lot of blockchain protocols with closed user interface, right, which are banning people from certain jurisdictions, such as Iran or the US these days. So then, yeah, it's also should be quite clear. So it's not related to the blockchain itself, right? But if the UI is in certain hands, right, and it's hard to maybe build an alternative, and it's not open source, then yeah, you can get stuck. So I read some tweets recently that JPG store or something like that. So some Cardano NFT marketplace is actually now censoring out users from the US, I believe.
Oops. Well, I think there's a lot of benefit in having the headless framework, right? And that way, you have this capacity to have multiple front ends, hopefully compete. And so if that type of censorship shows up, there are alternatives in place.
Yeah. So a lot of examples like that. So there are many layers here, right? And yeah, so each one has own assumptions.
Yep. And I hope that that's something that a lot of users out there are interested in. I think you're always going to run into the mentality when you talk about assumptions, and if people that just say, "Oh, I don't care, that's for nerds. I'm just going to buy it and it's going to move," right? And that is what it is. Common sense sometimes is not always the most common thing, but that comes at a price. Let's be honest. Let's get into the next question. How close is Rosenbridge, and how can we spread the word far and wide? Is there a plan? It seems like it's a requirement for it to succeed, and people using other chains know about it. Well, we are working with Catalyst to work with the SPO set. That should help us bootstrap distributed assumptions, which is needed for kind of the security of the Rosen protocol itself. And it hopefully will come with a certain amount of marketing word of mouth adoption. That's true. One thing that I personally think is a little bit important that sometimes is a little bit lost in the blockchain space is let's make sure that everything is in place, that the assumptions are right before we, march around and say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? So hopefully, we can get there in terms of bootstrapping that protocol. And I think that as it grows, it's going to have a really nice use case for projects to specifically access liquidity without having to deal with central exchanges and a lot of the cost requirements. So I think in the net, there's a real economic incentive there for projects to use that versus just the net costs it can take to pay for market access. Let's see. This is a question for you, Alex. Would it be theoretically possible for Bitcoin to incorporate something like storage rent?
Oh, so actually, there are some proposals. I believe I've posted some to the general chat one day, but yeah, maybe it would be better to do it from post. Some of proposals are even claiming that, no hard fork is needed, but implementations are so weird. So, I don't think in observable future they would be supported realistically. I don't think so. The Bitcoin network at this point is not capable to perform any radical changes. At the same time, it is doing pretty radical changes, like Taproot and Segwit before. Those changes are of kinds the network can be upgraded with not ubiquitous support. So in short, there are some proposals, right? But I don't think we will see any implementation. So even for more simple stuff like UTXO set commitments, right, which are allowing for UTXO set bootstrapping and so on. So, the initial proposal was done back in 2012, right? So 11 years ago. And maybe it's probably technically less controversial thing that's introducing demo rush storage rent. Right, but it's still not there and unlikely will be there. So so
radical change probably will only come to Bitcoin out of pure necessity, and there will be a bunch of drama around it. But it's true that there is a ton of interesting, let's say, research theory that is done around Bitcoin, and a lot of which Ergo can leverage.
A lot already there, actually. So, basically, maybe most of Ergo features even were proposed for Bitcoin. Bitcoin like cryptocurrencies, actually, initially. Like NIPOPOS, UTXO set commitments, stateless clients, right? So, for Bitcoin, there are proposals. I've forgotten how's it called. From Tech. About using Merkle forests to authenticate UTXO set. Actually, interesting proposal. in some sense, maybe. So it's definitely more suited for Bitcoin network than what's done in Ergo, right? But yeah, it's also not implemented. Then they also had proposal for stateless clients from Dan Bonek's team about using some class groups based accumulators, but yeah, it's less realistic approach, and yeah, also not done. So even storage rent Demorush, right? So talks about that started in Ethereum community actually. Right, but proposals for Ethereum even were not realistic and were rejected after discussions, despite the fact it would be quite beneficial because, zombie accounts is actually a big problem for Ethereum.
Mm.
Zombie contracts specifically because no any contract is calling suicide when it's not needed anymore. Basically, it's like nice utility in Linux. It's nice, but no one is using it. All right. Recently, talks were started in the Bitcoin community about what to do with the emission right, with reducing block rewards and so on. So there are some talks about Demorush, a couple of proposals, but no chance to see. And in Ergo, it's since day one there. So Nipopos stateless client support. So even if there is no support of something in the reference client, so it's already in the protocol, right? So there is no need for talks about how to update the network and so on. And for Demorush, it's also there, and it's actually very creepy, right? To update monetary policy on the way. So Ethereum did that. A few times, even I believe, right? So they changed block rewards via hard forks, right? Which very creepy thing. And in Bitcoin, the attitude is quite different. So I don't believe you can change monetary policy in any way. So in case of Ergo, the only change was about EP27, right? But it's not changing. Total emission, right? Whatever. So it's just repurposing some part of emission and in non-breaking way. So no hard fork. So just money going from one contract to another. So and in this regards. A lot of ideas for Bitcoin actually there since day one.
Yeah, there's always Bitcoin at this point. I don't expect a lot of it to be implemented, but it does tend to be a factory of good ideas that, a lot of them, we can plug into Ergo. Long term, interested to see, scaling solutions long term, because it's a bigger community. There's more incentive for people to do kind of research development, but it really goes anywhere, which is, it is what it is.
Yeah, and so for Sigma protocols, the motivation also was, there are a lot of papers proposing to do something for Bitcoin. Well, in regards with improving its, let's say, cryptographic capabilities, right? So to introducing ring signatures, proper threshold signatures or whatever. So, what's done in Ergo is you cannot dream about being on the edge of the state of art of cryptography, right? Because like every month you can have new schemes appear. So it's better to have some generic flexible language, and that's why Sigma protocols are there. And with them, then it's possible to do ring signatures. Some protocols like zero join, stealth addresses, and so on, right? So without modifying the core protocol, that's actually still underdeveloped.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the larger undervalued aspects of Ergo, but we'll get there, I think. All right, next we have a question from Filippo Units. Is there any direct contacts with Exodus ongoing? What is the situation on that? Exodus has always been kind of a goofy wallet. I know that for a long time their policy was if you were within some top threshold, then we'll add support. And I guess I need to switch the question. There you go. And it does seem as though they've kind of added a lot of cryptocurrencies that have been in the top 50, and now they're kind of exploring adding additional functionality, which is good. So the ongoing situation, I know that on social media, they've been saying, hey, we're looking into Ergo integration. It's always hard to gauge social media because people try to farm you for engagement, right? And so it doesn't always translate into the actual anything real. But it is a company that we've been in contact with in the past. I'm sure I can ping them and see whether they're just talking shit on social media or if they're actually going to do something. Let's see.
Oh, that's actually great news. The only thing it would be better to also suggest some things to them to avoid some failures general and Ergo specific wallets had before, like via wallet, right? The initial version of Nautilus.
Yeah.
Token burning and so on. Great news.
Next is from Filippo as well. He said 2 miners is close to a critical percentage of the whole hash rate. What can we do to have some balance on that? That's always a difficult question, right? There's an incentive for miners to do that. It could be, mining Ergo swapping for Bitcoin, something like that. Certainly educate people in terms of the best assumptions. There's certainly some good pools out there. I think long term, we're moving into kind of the storage rent era. And so I think that mining pools that, do creative things to extend rewards are going to offer an additional economic incentive. And that's ultimately probably the best thing that can happen in terms of creating balance, is creating more of an economic competition, right? There will be miners out there that are like, hey, I'm not going to mine to the biggest fool because I, kind of support, hash rate distribution, yada, yada, yada. And then there's a lot that just don't care. So let's see. What's your take, Alex?
For a few days in a row, we are informing miners in the Ergo mining group about the situation and ask them to redirect hash rate to other pools. Maybe what can we also do is to invite other pools to present themselves, advertise a little bit, maybe in form of maybe guest posts, AMAs in the Ergo mining, right, Ergo community. And similarly, we can do guest posting in their channels, which would be good for attracting new miners, right, to the Ergo mining. That's what's doable realistically, right? So yeah, this is quite unfortunate situation, but what's doable? What can be doable is quite limited, right? Let's see. So maybe the situation would get better coming days.
Yeah, it tends to yo-yo. In my opinion, I've kind of been around for a while. That tends to happen. I understand there's like a survival mentality when profitability not so good, where there's an incentive in the short term for people to mine a larger pool so they get more, predictable payouts. But over the arc of time, it's not that much of a difference, right? So I guess a part of it has to do with time frame. Oftentimes, some miners know that, some maybe not. Let's see. Next question. If the day ever comes when Ergo can get onto the really big exchanges, how will Ergo afford the listing fee and who will pay? Well, the first assumption that I think you need to know is that for the most part, that's basically the barrier of entry to a lot of the large exchanges is just give them money, right? It's kind of a little bit of a grift. The crypto space has shifted a lot from my perspective to where it's like, okay, well, you had Bitcoin, you had a lot of these core protocols and exchanges came out and, at first serviced them, right? It was in their incentive, and then the market kind of shifted. But one thing I think that you need to step back and keep in mind is I know that there's a certain time dilation in the crypto space, but even something like Binance is 6 years old? It's still a baby. If we're sitting here 6 years in the future, there very well could be a new, a company out there that is kind of dominant, and these things ebb and flow in our space. I can't tell you how many exchanges have kind of came and went and been dominant and seen as the kingmaker, and they're critical for the crypto space, and then off to the wayside, right? So I do think that in the long term, as the space matures, hopefully we see the actors that have clearer assumptions. One thing you'll never find for Binance is the actual cost of doing business there, right? That's a mystery to the general user. And I know that they say, oh, we have no list fees and, we don't charge anything. And that's just, it's a lie. What's your take, Alex?
Sorry, I missed the question. So, what's the question? So, I just checked. So, for FMFW exchange. So, officially, U.S. citizens not accepted. But KYC limit is quite high there, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
the question had to do with giving grease in exchanges, giving them money.
But why in the first place, right? So Yeah, I mean, even for listings, right? What kind of listing would improve liquidity for real right now? So, Kraken, Coinbase, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, pretty much at this point, we need a footprint in the U.S. I think that there's nothing wrong with sitting and waiting for regulatory clarity in the U.S. And the bottom line, in my opinion, is, there's a lot of actors out there I don't trust. Like I don't trust them with a dollar. Like that's fully honest. And so, as there's greater scrutiny in there, I think we're going to see kind of the cream rise to the top, and sketchy actors are going to get in trouble. Which, okay, it is what it is. Good luck, everybody. I hope exchanges out there have been doing good business, because if not, fuck them. I have no compassion for that. So let's see. I think that sitting back and getting Ergo cross chain will give us access to where if somebody actually wants to buy Erg, it's okay. The transaction or two away. And there's a part of me that sits back and say, okay, well, if a user isn't capable of a transaction or two, probably this isn't the industry for them, right? There's a somewhat high probability that they're going to end up subsidizing the miners at some point, investing in Ergo. So, if I can say that for me, if there's something that is truly interesting, one or two transactions is nothing. And if we're actually going to try to build any type of meaningful P2P money, people need to learn how to do transactions. Maybe that's unpopular, but it is what it is. What's your take, buddy?
Yeah, pretty much the same. So, would be good to get maybe on some regional exchanges. But
there's a couple. There's a couple that we've been talking to. I know that right now, the U.S. is under a lot of scrutiny from different crypto companies, and you can even look at the exchanges that we have right now. But there is some work that we're doing, particularly. Exploring regional exchanges, exploring potential for, like credit debit integration and some wallets. So we're always searching, but it's one of those things that I think that in business in general, and probably in life, pick your partners well, right? Pick your partners well. Otherwise, there's a lot of people out there that may or may not be a net liability, and yeah, it could put a project like ours in danger if we threw a lot of our treasury at someone that's doing a bunch of, unethical shit. So let's let that sort out. I think focus internally, and when there's greater clarity, then we'll have a much better idea of who's worth partnering with, and who's worth staying away from. I think if FTX taught us anything, it's that sometimes perception is an illusion, right?
Yeah. So I remember actually a lot of questions like when FTX.
Yeah,
back in 2021.
I even talked to them, and I guess their old entity wanted about $2 million for listing, and they wanted us to wash trade up to $25 million in volume a day. And if we would have done that, it may have destroyed the project. Like, I don't think users recognize that. Like, if we would have put our entire treasury into that and said, oh, it's going to be so great, we're going to, go straight to the moon, and we would have just crashed and burned. Like, oof, full Challenger explosion. So we need to be careful with that. Why? Because we're not a super rich organization that can grift. We don't dump on our community. And so, conservative practices are important.
So, FTX was probably the most greasy, right, exchange, actually. And the most shady one, also one of the most shadiest exchanges. Well, I don't think this is coincidence, actually.
No, Yeah, but it breaks back to the premise. If you know your assumptions, we got to be careful. Like creating the wrong type of partnership like that, it could have not only just destroyed the project, but how many users out there would have gotten hurt, right? So, yeah, I know that due diligence is not sexy. Know your assumptions is only for developers. It's for nerds. Well, it's there to protect you.
Right. So, yeah, well, going back to exchanges, would be good to get maybe on some Latin American exchanges, right? So I believe for Asia we have good coverage, but maybe it's not
No, I think regionally there's a lot.
totally clear, right? Because yeah, so for example, in India, we have presence on CoinDCX exchange, right? In the USDT pair, but yeah, maybe there is need for some materials, right? So how to jump on that from Indian rupee, for example, right?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of work we can do there. I do think that for the casual crypto user that can handle an exchange or two, Rosenbridge is going to be big. Because long term it could put Ergo products and a lot of other products into a lot of different ecosystems to where, if you can buy one base currency that should be pretty much available in every jurisdiction, you're a transaction away. And that's, essentially where we are right now. But, if the threshold is users can't use crypto, they shouldn't touch crypto. I think that's safe to say. I think that if you can't send a transaction, if you can't sell custody, probably there's better things for you to do that are safer for you.
Yeah, so actually, I heard recently a pretty interesting opinion that we do have centralized exchanges dominance because of Bitcoin, right? Because it is not supporting decentralized exchanges. So otherwise, we would have decentralized exchanges, right? And then some on-ramp, off-ramp options, right? A variety of them. Which would be quite different and very interesting setup, actually, right? And also, less shady, definitely.
But we can get there. There's a lot of old coins that, functionally are pretty much dead, but they're on the balance sheets of large organizations that can market make and they can maintain their value because then, it's on their asset, side is on the asset side of their balance sheet. So, things that are old with low liquidity and low usage, yeah, they tend to trend towards centralization, in my opinion. But that's not a popular opinion either.
Right. So, in regards with trading, there is this centralization, and I think it's maybe a little bit extreme, but probably pretty valid, right, opinion. But it's because of Bitcoin, right?
No, I agree. I tend to agree. So, here we are. I think that the best thing we can do is continue to build value internally. And long term, I think we'll do pretty well. I love the internal development of the ecosystem. We get, cross-chain access, people that are be capable of a transaction, we'll be able to find and use Ergo. So I think long term, we're in a good path. Now, we're not an organization that was designed to grease everybody and show up on all the exchanges day one. That comes with a pretty heavy cost in this industry. I guess it's sexy, but tends to burn out pretty quick.
Yeah. All right. So we are already out of time, probably. Last question, maybe. Let's finish right now.
Sure.
So you,
Yeah, I would say at this point, yeah, let's sign off. We went a little bit over time. I've got to hop onto some other stuff here pretty quick. Hope everybody out there enjoyed the AMA. It's a controversial topic, but yeah, I hope our opinions at least make people think a little bit. Know your assumptions, protect yourselves. Just because something is popular, it doesn't mean you should necessarily trust it. So stay safe out there, everybody.
thank you, everyone. Thank you for your questions. See you soon. See you, many of you, tomorrow, actually, on the AMA.
Tomorrow, 8 a.m. UTC. Hopefully, people can hop on Telegram, Discord, and learn a little bit about a couple really unique things that are coming out on Ergo. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, again. Bye.